Osteoporosis, one of the most common conditions affecting mainly elderly women and in less common cases, elderly men. The condition essentially arises from bones becoming weathered over time and not able to repair themselves quickly enough. The skeletal system. Bones are like the framework of an aircraft. They need to be light, yet strong enough to withstand great forces. Long bones are tubular in shape, possess a strong cortical shell on their outer layer, and this surrounds a softer, more spongy core, known as the trabecular bone. This is what makes the bones so strong and light. Vertebrae are also constructed very similarly, with a thick layer surrounding various layers of trabecular bone. These vertebrae can individually compress with any force or stress put upon them for temporarily and return to their original size. Unlike an aircraft, however, the skeleton is alive and must constantly grow, heal itself, and respond to any changes within its environment. This is where bone remodeling plays its part. Though this process is easy for the skeletal system to achieve in its youth, it declines in efficiency over age, resulting in a gradual restructuring of the bone. In turn, resorption of minerals on the inner side of the cortical layer leads to an unavoidable loss of trabecular bone, resulting in a widening of the bone cavity. This is in turn compensated for by the addition of minerals to the outer cortical layer, making it thicker. Though the thickness has improved, the bone density continues to decline, decreasing the peak bone density with age. Bone architecture and constant bone remodeling combine to have a huge impact on the pathophysiology of osteoporosis. Ultimately, as the bones become wider, the chance of breakage increases, as the bones are less dense. This is due to the cortical layer thinness. Osteoporosis is a condition where old skeletal bone is being disposed of faster than new bone can be made. The bone resorption to bone deposition ratio is dependent on the production and signaling of osteoclasts and osteoblasts. The signaling of osteoclasts and osteoblasts are brought about by the signaling of certain hormones. One large change observed is pH. As pH decreases, it dissolves bone minerals. Osteoblasts continually replace this depleted material, while osteoclasts are activated when in need of bone resorption to replace old bone removed. With age, after a lifetime of bone remodeling, bones begin to lose their overall net mass. With the depletion of hormones that control the signaling and release of osteoblasts and osteoclasts, such as estrogen, parathyroid hormone, and in some cases testosterone, coupled with vitamin C and vitamin D deficiency, osteoporosis becomes more prevalent. Estrogen is the largest problem for patients that suffer from osteoporosis. These hormones work in a way in which they bind to the surface of the certain receptor hormone complexes in order to regulate and activate any genes for the use of production of both osteoclasts and osteoblasts. As these hormones are depleted with age, bones become more and more susceptible to osteoporosis. Though osteoporosis is a very prevalent issue within elderly people, affecting almost 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 males over their lifetime, it is highly possible with modern treatment methods to reduce the risk of breakage or fracturing of any bones of patients affected by osteoporosis. The most common treatment until recently was the use of alendronate. Alendronate is a biphosphate that was approved for treatment of osteoporosis in 1995. Alendronate not only targets several protein precursors, but also binds to specific bone mineral known as hydroxyapatite. Hydroxyapatite causes the inhibition of bone resorption, therefore not allowing new bone to be produced. Alendronate directly binds to the hydroxyapatite, sending signals to inhibit the mineral, therefore slowing the inhibition of bone resorption, allowing for more new bone to be produced. A newer treatment method that has been further perfected in clinical studies in 2016 has shown vast improvements on alendronate. Romosozumab is the newer form of treatment. It is an antibody that targets antibodies known as sclerostin. Sclerostin is an osteocyte-derived glycoprotein that inhibits signaling and activation of an osteoblast function, therefore inhibiting bone formation. As mentioned before, osteoblasts are important in replacing depleted bone matter. Therefore, romosozumab actively blocks sclerostin formation, reducing the risk of decrease in osteoblast function. Though osteoporosis is relatively unavoidable throughout a person's life, once acquired, it is easily manageable and treatable. Through the use of the more modern romosozumab, which in clinical trials achieved 48% rate of reduction in risk of fracture, which is more accurate and evidently higher than the 20 to 30% successful reduction of fractures in patients of alendronate. This shows great promise for the future of treatment of osteoporosis.